lessons and laughter.
Hey, everybody.
No, Miss America, you ain't like this. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be in this wonderful world of ours. And you are tuned into Beyond the Vows with your host,
Maria Brown.
and W.C. Brown. And we're so glad to see you again on tonight. And my baby, she got new hairdo. I'm just really loving it.
Oh my God.
You know, it's just so beautiful.
That's not one thing you
So
want to
beautiful.
do.
I just want to rub my hands
girl's
through
hair.
rub my hands through your braids, you know. Just I'll be on my face, you know. That's the real turn on. Woo, just follow me.
Y'all pray for him.
Yep. And call out my whole government name.
Amen.
Well, listen, welcome again. We have always have an exciting time here with my honey bun. And first, our disclaimer, we're not experts. We're just married. Okay.
Yep.
And we just want to share some things with you that we have learned and ask you all to share some things that you have learned with us. And, and there's no perfect way to do things, but you got to try. And when you stop trying, you might as well just stop, Don't go. So we want to shout out first our sponsor, which is deafchildhope.org, deafchildhope.org. This is an awesome organization that takes children who are deaf all over this world. There are over 25 million children who are suffering in poverty, but they're also deaf. So Deaf Child Hope International helps these children to be able to sign language. Many of these kids have never had a conversation with anybody, And we have a child that we sponsor in the Congo, and he's about to turn 16 now. Yeah, he's about to turn. Kumi's about to turn 16 now. Yeah, and from I understand, he's doing very, very well. So your support, sponsor the child, the deafchildhope.org, deafchildhope.org. Go there today and sponsor one of those wonderful children who could really need your help, and it'll warm your heart. Okay. So also, you want to see what I have on? So I have this shirt on. And this is called the 1 million patch experience. Okay. So as you all know, I had hip surgery back in February, and I really suffered. And I want to thank my wife for holding it down for the show during that period. But I saw some amazing things with the super patch. The super patch, man, has just changed so many lives, and it's changed ours. I'm telling you, it's just amazing what these patches do. And these patches are there's no medicine in them. All these patches are just like what we call a braille for the brain. Braille for the brain. Just as somebody who's blind. They use their hands, fingers to read, send signals to the brain. Well, that's what the super patch is. I'm patched up. Yes, I am. So if you want to know about the super patch, just go to mwbrown.superpatch.com. That's mwbrown.superpatch.com, and you will see how you can change your life by these patches. Sunday night, my nephew he was in a terrible accident, him and his sister and another niece of ours, and he broke his pelvic bone, and they said he could not walk, and was not supposed to be on his leg for like the next 3 months. And he came to a patching party, which was the birthday party for Cocoa Butter, and her and Dr. Benique, they just did their thing. The next we know, he's walking around the restaurant without his crutches. The most amazing thing. So again, mwbrown.superpatch.com. All right, that's my plug. And my last plug, tonight, my Knicks are playing. We are finally in the Eastern Conference Final. I'm so happy. I I get emotional. I've been a New York Knicks fan since 1969. 1969. Let's see, you weren't born then. Oh boy, I stuck my mouth in that one. But baby, you had something very, very interesting you wanted to talk about tonight, and go up, have at it, sweetie.
Well, beyond the vows, we talk about a lot of things going on, either marriage or singleness or just whatever the case is. Now, something that I saw on social media that kind of got my attention a little bit, um, especially for those that are just beginning to get about to get married or making preparations to get married. Um, you really need to understand your why, and you really need to understand. The question was asked, um, why people um, marry for a position instead of love. And I was like, oh my God, I never knew that really, but there are people out here that really marry for position. And what I'm saying, I'll just use this as an example. Someone that is well to do, and they may have a business to help them to expand their wealth. Um, and people are attracted to things that if their lifestyle is all luxury and lavish, and they
Mm,
don't ever have to worry about doing anything. People are attracted to people like that. They don't care what they look like. All they see is green. All they see is the money. And is that really love, or is it going to help? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, in a marriage, it takes more than just love. It does.
yeah, and that's not going to last very long. I mean,
Mm-mm.
because what happens when the money is gone, when the position is gone?
Or what if the spouse gets sick and they can't do it anymore? Or
Right.
what if the money runs out? What if they go into bankruptcy? You know, it's just a whole lot of things. Now, are you willing to stay? Are you
Right.
willing to hang on in there?
You know.
The proof is in the pudding. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those times it's very superficial. Um, some folks get married because the other person looks good. Oh my God, they're as fine as they want to be.
Hmm.
Or like you said, position on what they have.
Hmm.
I watching some of these short videos on TikTok and Instagram. I see some on Facebook too. Where a guy would be, on the street, look like he's homeless, and like kind of bummy, and a real fine girl will walk by,
Hmm.
and he'll say, "Hey, how you doing?" It should be like, just looking at how he looks, And he said, "Well, I'm just trying to get to know you. What's your Instagram?" That's something new. I ain't never heard that before.
Hmm.
I thought you said, "What's your phone number?" Everybody now, "What's your Instagram?" Okay, anyway. Um, and they just the girl just kind of brushes them off,
Hmm.
and they walk off. He said, "Well, have a great day," and then he walks over and gets in this luxury car,
Hmm.
and the girl turns around, looks up, and then will start coming back, and I saw one where she knocked on the window, and he said, "Well, what do you want now?" She said, "Oh, this your car?" you know. He said, "Well, you want to give me time of day
Time of day,
before."
right?
Well, I'm just trying to, just trying to figure you out. Yeah. And then he had the shovel, his gold shovel. He said, "Can you hold this a minute?" She said, "Yeah, what is it?" She said, "Yeah, you a gold digger." you know. And one thing that um, the Bible says, "A man that findeth a wife
Hmm.
findeth a good thing."
Hmm.
Um, there are, there are many marriages that aren't based on that. Okay. And one thing, and I know the preachers out there are going to be flooding my timeline and stuff, but I really don't care. The church has created some of the most dysfunctional marriages
Hmm.
because back in the day, if you got pregnant,
Oh yeah,
you had to get married.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And
That was a
all they
thing.
were doing, that was a recipe for disaster. You know, especially a young girl that's been nowhere,
Mm-hmm.
and now she's gone from being pregnant to being put as a housewife. You know, and a young man ain't got the sense that God gave him. And they have to matriculate into that kind of relationship,
That's no
and it's
way.
forced on them. And as the years go by, and you remember you talked about how when we get older, and um, uh, we start to change.
Yeah.
Well, they haven't experienced anything.
Mm-mm.
You know?
Not at all. Not at
And
all.
I blame those preachers back then in the day, making them get married. You know what I'm saying? Because they weren't ready.
That's why, when we have, and I'm grateful for all the other podcasters that are out here. People are sharing their vision or sharing their own experiences about marriage and about different things, so that other people, you don't have to follow these steps that other people are creating. When you think that when you marry for a position, or you marry for money, or you marry for wherever it is that you marry for, that's just it. It's marriage is more to it than money. It's more to it than just love. I think you have to have a little bit of both. But the thing about it is, a lot of times, especially um, people nowadays, they're waiting later to be married, because they want to make sure they have everything lined up, which I do understand to a certain degree. But you're never actually really ready to really be married. But I want to say this. Listen, if this is something, if you and your fiance, if y'all really love each other, and if you want to be able to save that money, or or to do different things when getting married, why don't you just go to the justice of peace, and everybody give you a love offering? Use your money, baby, to help you and your husband or your wife to do the things that you guys to do to build. Because I'm being honest, y'all, having a wedding is $10,000. That's expensive.
I'm not doing that.
That's just absolutely ludicrous. Because in the amount of gifts that you get, you're not going to get $10,000 worth of gifts. Okay, let's just be real.
And $5,000 for a dress.
Oh my God!
That you gonna wear once,
one time. So it's a lot to think about. Yeah, everybody want to be beautiful. They want to look good. They want to smell good. They want to have the finest things. But let me tell you, what's really going to be the kicker is what you put in that marriage. And if you are the type of person that you work hard for your money, and you don't want to see it go down, or anything like that, then use wisdom. Wisdom is what you would need in order to make your marriage successful. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, y'all. Everybody don't know everything when they first get married, because you get two lives that are trying to come together as one. But the two, now don't forget, God should be in the center. But because He is the triumph of this, He's at the top, and here we are together. We're trying to make sure that we operate in the things of God, y'all. I'm just being honest, because without it, I don't see how a marriage can really be all that successful. Because like I said, Will trying to do his thing, I'm trying to do my thing, but it's got to be something that we do as a team together. There's no I in team. It's TEAM. So in a team, that we got to bring our ideas together. We have to bring our monies together. And if you're the type of person that you're better at it as far as finances, then make up a plan. Both of y'all plan those things together, and then discuss how you're going to individually separate stuff, or pay this, or to do that, or whatever. Because it's about building, and you have to start somewhere. I'll tell anybody young, make sure that you're not marrying for the wrong reasons. Marrying for position because the brother makes some money, or marrying her because she got her own business and she's been successful for the past 10 years, and and she got a beamer, she got a 6.5 hundred thousand dollar house, whatever you want to say, you know. We can Don't marry for materialistic things. Don't marry for money, but marry someone because you really love them. And then another thing too is, what about your spirit? Do you all collide, or do you all come together? What is it? Is it something about that person that brings out the best in you? Does that person make you think? Does that person help you or pushes you to your next level, or to our next? Because if we are building, first of all, our foundation got to be laid. That foundation definitely has to be Christ. Because without Christ, I really don't understand how things are really functioning. The song says, "Build your hope on things eternal. Hold on to God's unchanging hand, and He's the one that can help you and guide you through all truths." Katie Will?
Yeah, yeah. And something we talked about. When I'm always being transparent, always trying to learn how to be better. And I told you I wanted to be able to handle conflict better.
Right.
And when a conflict arises, rather than just blurting stuff out, I step back now. I want to just ask God how to say what we need to say.
Right.
In love, and let it be received in love. So it's always about your delivery.
Yeah.
But to be with somebody that now my wife, she'll always tell me, "I see more in you than you see in yourself." And if you're with somebody that sees more than the surface, sees more than what the facade, then you've got a good one. First of all, we have to want it ourselves.
True.
Okay, because nobody can will us to be better. First of all, we had needs of it. But when you have someone if you got somebody that just takes you for how you are and doesn't see no potential, doesn't see no promotion, no increase, then y'all need to just split. Because they're doomed. And when like I said, when you got when you're promoting each other, and when you say, "Hey, you can do it," when when you get them bad days, those days when you're feeling down, and say, "Hey, no, I'm your biggest cheerleader."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Rah, rah, rah. I will help you to get to where you need to go, because I may not be able to physically, mentally take you there, but that you got somebody that's got your back.
Right. And even when there is someone that you probably fallen in love with for real, that does have a little bank or has something, don't take them for granted, and don't take what they have to offer for granted as well. Sometimes some people say, "Well, if I'm coming to the table with 90%, I need you to bring all of your 90%. Sometimes the 90% is not always in money. Or maybe other people, they think different. You don't have to take what I say, but from my own experience, you have to build. I cannot stress that enough. No marriage just come together and just last forever and without building something. And if something is worth building, something is worth fighting for, something is worth to have, so you got to think about it like that. It's more than just I'm so in love with you, but because there gonna be days, my friends, my brothers, my sisters, that you are not gonna like each other.
You can't stand.
Oh,
I can't do
God.
Damn.
You just said that word?
No, I said stand.
Okay. But anyway, hope it didn't say that.
No.
But there are gonna be days when you're not really feeling him, or you're not really feeling her. That's just what happened. And then you're like, "Man, why not marry this person anyway?" Things is crazy stuff like that started happening. But you got to understand that it's two lives.
Right.
Two lives. Two lives are important. Number one, I can't take advantage of this man. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he came in with more than me. All right. Or maybe he brought in something that I didn't have. But you don't take each other for granted.
Right.
You know, he can push me to where I need to be. You can push her to where she needs to be. That's how you got to think about it. So, with that marriage thing, know what you're getting into before you get into it, because marriage is a covenant.
Yeah, and society almost certainly can dictate
Ugh,
why somebody gets married.
true.
Or I was thinking about back in the day, it says better to marry than to burn.
That's
Somebody's hot in the butt and they just got to get, and so now you get married so you can say, well, I'm not sinning, I'm married, you know what I'm saying? And that's doomed as well, because it's more than just the physical.
It really is, because physical bodies can be injured. Physical bodies can be, can get sick, and you may not be able to do the things that you used to do anymore. Then what you gonna do? This is a lot to really, really think about.
Yeah, especially when you get that age, when you get the Dunlap.
What is that?
Dunlap?
What's Dunlap with?
Stomach Dunlapped
Oh
over.
my God.
Things change, man. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
You don't
my
have
God.
that. I mean, I was an Adonis when you married me.
Oh God. Well, come on.
I was. You remember I had strong. I was strong.
Strong
I was
shoulders.
strong. I was strong, and now
Oh God.
I'm belly done lapped over. And when you look down, you can't see your feet. Boy, you're in trouble.
Oh my God.
But she still loves me, even with this.
And just like, I didn't mean to cut across you, but just like that, even when you are building, you start to have children, and man, things happen to a woman's body when she had kids, and that's something that every man should know and understand. If you've never ever seen birth before, things happen to a woman's body during, while she's pregnant, even after she's pregnant, because then she becomes that child's source of everything, milk,
Yeah.
and some of everything. Or there are gonna be a lot of times when you want to be with your wife and you can't, because the baby is requiring her. There's gonna be those times when it get like that. Then what you gonna do, y'all? It's so much to think about, and it really is serious, because your marriage is a covenant, just like I said earlier, and a covenant is something that you don't want to just break for GP.
Yeah.
If it's going to be like that, don't even do it. Because what kind of answer you going to give to God? And then not only that, you're talking about a whole person that spent I don't know how many years dating you, taking you out, buying you gifts, showing you love, showing you respect. And then all of a sudden, because of you getting upset with that person because they didn't do something that you wanted them to do, I mean, they wasted. I mean, and you just don't want to be with them anymore. Then they wasted all that time.
All that time.
Wasted all that time when they could have had their own person. That's why it's so important that we really make a right decision. Really think about what it is that you want to do. Sometimes you got to go and pray and fast, and you have to. Now the Bible does say, when a man findeth a wife, they find a good thing and obtain favor with the Lord. Somebody just asked the question: how do you meet new men, and where are they?
How do you meet new men,
and where are they?
Well, let me tell you. I'll tell you where they're not.
Well, that's not funny.
Well, I mean, so how do you meet good men? I mean, you don't. It's trial and error. I'm not saying you gotta I'll try this one, I'll try that one, I'll try this one, and then you really have to have discernment. Okay, you really have to look at the situation, feel somebody out, and of course, now not everybody's going to give you everything that they're about. When because especially when a man is trying to impress a woman, and is trying to get in them drawers, that kind of stuff, they will pull out all the stops.
I understand, but even before you even decide to do that, you got to know within your own self what you want and what's going to make you happy, whether it's man or woman. I'm talking to both men and women. You have to know what you want. You have to understand. You got to set boundaries. Got to make sure that you set those boundaries because you don't want to jump into something and then realize, oh no, this not gonna work. You want somebody that's going to make you happy. Well, now, yeah, that's going to make you happy, or going to push you or make you think. I know I'm the type of person. I like to have somebody that push me to push me to things that it's going to make me better
beyond your limit.
Yeah,
saying?
because sometimes you really need that. And where are the men? Well, I know we do have some good men out here. I'm not gonna lie, there are some good men out here. There may be some in church. There may be some in grocery stores, department stores, parks, or whatever.
Kroger.
Wherever.
I don't know.
Wherever, Walmart, doesn't matter. But the thing about it is, you guys, you never know, Will. The thing about it is, present yourself as a wife, present yourself as a husband from the very beginning. Dress nice. I'm not telling you got to walk out here with 10-inch heels on every time you're going somewhere. No, but always look your best. Look like you're going to meet that person, and it don't necessarily have to be high heel stockings and a skirt. No, it don't always have to be that. You can have your.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just had a flashback.
Don't try that. It don't always have to be that kind of way.
But you know what? Both men and women have been burned. Okay, there women. They're still looking because what they have to deal with in the past makes their defenses up so strong.
I mean, but can you blame them?
No, you can't blame. You know what I'm saying? Because they've been burned so much, they've been let down so much. So every relationship they try to get into, there's always a force shield. A shield. They're not going to let you know everything. They're not going to totally give their heart. And then there's some men who've been burned by women.
True.
That are afraid to approach anybody.
And and that's, I think for both men and women, both men and women have been burned. They've been it's just so much. Look, but you know what? I this is what I say. This is what I say. Really pray and really seek the face of God for your spouse, because you never know where you're going to meet him or her at. It's just always best to ask God to help make you start. The word of God said, creating me a clean heart that I may and renew the right spirit on the inside of me. Because you want that person, your person, to meet you in a good place, and you want your heart to be right, you want your mind to be right, and everything, y'all. I'm telling you, it's a whole new mindset of how you approach everything when it comes to love, when it comes to God, when it comes to being in a marriage, when it's coming to staying in a marriage. It's a whole new mind, a mind change and a heart change. In that covenant, you're not just together just for the sake of it.
Right. And those good men are the men who will pursue you.
Oh God.
I'm talking about just pursuing. But listen, When we on the other side of this break, we're going to be talking about communication and the 3 H's. When we come back here on Beyond the Vows.
Where the waves rise high, Bay magazine we lift and amplify. Stories of love, of strength, of pride. Giving back, standing tall, side by side. We are the rhythm, we are the voice. Community rising, making bold choice. On short drive, we shine, we soar. Bay magazine forever.
And we're back. So listen, let me just say this. If you would love to be a guest on our show, if you have some comments, questions from our show, just hit us up at beyondthevows.skstv@gmail.com. Okay? That's beyondthevows.skstv@gmail.com. Okay? Yeah, we want to hear from you today. What you say, baby?
I wanted to say something about Will was talking about pursuing. And when you pursuing is to follow, chase, or actively strive to achieve something. So when that man that finds a wife and finds favor with God, he's going to pursue her in a way that no other suitor has pursued her before.
You better go, girl. That sounded good.
I'm serious. I mean, and not that, that she's trying to have all these things to come to pass all of a sudden, but he's going to really look at you as a person, and he wants the first thing he's going to see is your heart. He's going to see how you operate, how you do things. You just want to present yourself in a good way.
Right. So does the man have to always be the ultimate pursuer?
Man, that's a good question.
It is.
It is. I tend to say I would love it if it was always that way, but it's not. And for me, oh man, I love somebody pursuing me, because then they're interested in me. They're interested in who I am. Right. That means something.
But the man does not want to feel like he's being taken for granted. That I'm doing all this stuff for her, but not just physically or tangibly. But mentally, I'm doing all this stuff because I'm trying to show her that I'm the one for her.
But let me say this.
But he needs to know that that it's making a difference.
But let me tell you, when the right man comes and pursue a female, she's going to make sure that he knows where she is. She's going to make sure, because the thing about it, if she's ever been hurt before, she's not going to want to get hurt again. And she's not going to want to waste her time. And she's not going to waste his time. Right. I'm going to tell you straight up, because at this point, a lot of females is getting tired. They're getting tired because it's always the same old all the time. The same old clown, the same old jokester, or it's always the same. And it's not just the men, but the women are doing it too.
They're doing it too.
They're doing the same thing to each other.
But you have to take this, I would say, take your time Women, let the man pursue you,
Yeah.
but also let them know that you appreciate their effort.
Yeah.
But take your time. Stop jumping into these relationships because the one person has done you like no one else has ever done you, and you just all head over heels stupid in love. You know what I'm saying? But really look at, and then like I say, get a third party, just hey, even if there's nothing wrong, just say, hey, listen, there's this counsel over here, let's just go over there and just talk about our relationship,
You said a counselor?
Yeah, talk to a professional. Once you feel like this could be your person, I think you should make an appointment to go and just talk to a relationship counselor. Make sure that what you're doing is working, and what to look forward to when you take the next step, So, and that brings us to what we call how we communicate with each other. As to not cause conflict. I said earlier that I decided that I was going to do some things differently. I do have and I'm not ashamed to say it, I do have a diagnosis of PTSD and, and stress from combat and that kind of stuff. And there are triggers, and not every spouse or girlfriend or whoever, partner, whatever, understands what that you're going through, because one of my triggers was to hear a question repeated to me over and over again. If you ask me the question, I answer it. Don't ask me again, because it triggers something that happened with like the military. But I was determined that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask or think. So I'm thinking PTSD, so there is control, may get a check for it, but there is some type of control. And I decided I wanted to do something differently. I didn't want to just say, don't do that because it triggers me. I want to learn to do some things differently. So in communication, especially when you're talking and you don't understand each other. Now, we not all the time, the couples may not speak the same language. Okay? What I think about something may not be what she thinks of something, or vice versa. So there's something called intention versus impact. Okay. Intention versus impact. Now, everybody's feelings are valid.
Yes, they are.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Feelings are not actually the law, but feelings are valid. So if you say something and your partner takes offense to it, you may not have intended for them to receive it that way, but the impact of it was different than what the person intended. So as opposed to saying things like, "God, you so touchy," and dang, I ain't want to say it. I mean, it's good to go back and be kinder by saying, "Oh wow, I'm sorry, I didn't intend for that to impact you that way. That was not my intention." And I just, so how did that impact you? Just let me know how that impacted you, because what I said was not the way I meant for it to say it, and maybe I said it the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? And my God, it brings so much peace. And I'm gonna tell you something. I was a little upset with her the other something we did Sunday, and we got home, and I said, you know what? And normally I would just say something about it, just I don't like how you do it, blah blah blah. And I sat in the car, and she called, and she said, "You coming in?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm out here praying. I'm out here praying that my words will be a blessing instead of a curse. That my actions will please not only you, but please God." And after a while, after doing that, it just had such a calming effect to know that what I was upset about wasn't that important. And then the fact that the guy said, "Just leave it alone. You ain't got to talk about it." And for you to come the next day and notice that I had done that, and how it made you feel, that made me feel really great.
Mhm.
That it's something that's got to be consistent. One time, this ain't it.
Nope.
It's got to be consistent.
It is.
So when you say, well, you so touchy, though, you are invalidating their feelings.
Exactly, because everybody's voice is important, and how you feel is definitely important. It's like, don't take what I say for granted, or take it as it doesn't matter. I do matter. My voice
Right.
matters, and so does yours. Your
Right.
voice matters as well. So it's really important that we learn how to talk. Everybody may not do it the way that we do it, but you have to figure out your own way. And that's going to take a lot of communication with your spouse or with your significant other. Y'all really going to have to sit down at the table and kind of like pour it out and see what it is that you could do, or things that's going to help you in your relationship as you grow. Remember, I said at the beginning, you're building something. So in building things, you know that in order for the bricks to 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 mesh together, there has to be some form of concrete in between.
That mortar.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that has to make it. Brick on top of brick is not gonna stay.
Right. You knock
Somebody,
that down.
you can just knock it down, but you have to have something to come in between to help it to stick.
Mhm.
And the softness of the concrete that goes on top is able to grab hold to the other brick that's laying on top of it and sticks. And after a certain time, it firms up. That's your foundation. I said, God has got to be
Yep.
our
And
foundation.
that sweet, sticky stuff.
Well,
And
well,
no, I'm saying,
well,
it's with sweetness.
well. Do y'all see what I'm dealing with? Anyway, it's so crazy. So God has got to be that foundation, y'all. I'm telling you. Because without it, how are we going to be able to maintain? How are we going to be able to, keep it that way? And with the communication part, y'all, listen, you can't afford to block the other person out. That's not going to work, because they have a voice too, and you have to be so. It's a team effort thing.
Yeah.
That's all I can see.
Yeah.
I can see it's a team effort thing.
You gotta listen.
You gotta listen.
I did some things because you like to talk, you like to discuss, ask
No,
questions.
he didn't.
No, I'm
Just
just
tell
saying.
me
I'm
what
just
you
saying
said.
you like to ask questions about things because.
I like to talk, but who takes?
No, wait. I'm talking like 2:00 in the morning. I'm dead asleep, and she wake up. Well, what does EMC squared mean to you?
Oh,
them
my
kind of
God.
questions. But on our trip back from New York, and it was one of our daughter graduated from college. On the way back, I started talking about our future. I started asking questions like you normally ask.
Oh,
And it felt different. I ain't say it felt good, but it just felt different. Oh, matter of fact, going to something back you said earlier in the first half of the show, about when things change, how women's bodies change and stuff like that. I just had a flashback to our first child being born, and standing there and watching what women had to go through, what his mom had to go through, and when that little head was coming out, of her what you call it. I looked and I told the doctor, I said, "Oh my God, it's ruined. It's ruined. I'll never get no more." That's just, but then it, closed back up. And, that was just a miracle of God. But I use it as an example of things changed, but they can always go back to what they were, and even better than it was. You know what I'm saying? And like I say, the communication. We always talk about that, guys. Communication is the key. I'm preaching to the choir because at my age, I'm about to turn 67 years old, and I'm still learning how to communicate. and it's a process, but it's a process that I embrace. I embrace. I would love to see my wife. I mean, when you all saw her, if you could have saw her face on this trip and how I was just opening up about stuff, she just, I mean, she just was happy, you know. And that's what you want to do. You want to make your spouse happy. Man, I'm talking to you, guys. You gotta make your spouse happy. You know, you have to sacrifice sometimes the very thing that you hold dear to you, you know, and let it go for the sake of, and don't get me wrong the way I say this, but for the sake, as the Bible says, the weaker vessel. Okay? You have to pull out all the stops, because this one here, and I'm talking about this, not Maria, but all women, the thing that they have to go through, sometimes they are husband and wife, they are mother and father, you know?
True. So true.
And sometimes we are just so oblivious to what it is our spouses are, you know, have to go through. Even if you're not married, just you know, the anxiety. Think of the anxiety of a young woman trying to find, or not trying to find, but if you want to be found, then be in a place where you can be found. And I'm not talking about a physical place, ladies. I'm talking about just in your mind, in your spirit, in your walk, in your demeanor. Be in a place that's attracted to him. And sometimes you're gonna get what you didn't ask for, you know, because of the past and things like that. Marie will tell you there's things she didn't want in her second marriage. She didn't want a military man. She didn't want a light-skinned man, red hair. She didn't want a minister. She did not want a musician. She got all four. You know? She got all four.
Oh, God.
And the fact that she blesses me the most is she said I was responsible for bringing her back to the church. Man, that's powerful. So that means I have this awesome responsibility to make sure she stays in the church. So what brought you there, I got to keep it, I got to maintain that. You know?
But not just for me. It's
right.
not just for me.
Right.
But it's for the family.
Oh yeah, exactly. So
it's about kingdom building.
Yeah, it's got to be. And so guys, we have an awesome responsibility, because there's so many women, and I'm only speaking for men, so many women out there who have been hurt, who have been vilified, who has been demeaned, who have been taken advantage of,
absolutely,
ostracized, you know, just treated like nothing. And you think they just gonna take anything?
They're not. Because
God forbid. No.
Like I said earlier, women are tired.
They're tired.
Men are too.
They're tired.
Because they have been through so much.
And they'll cut you now.
Right.
They will
better
cut
watch
you.
it.
That's right. They'll cut you.
I'm telling you, and that's why it's so important, you know, that we as women, we got to get ourselves together. Yeah, we've been hurt. We've been talked about. We've been probably beat a lot. Some people have been beaten.
Yeah.
You know, to the point of they don't know, you know, the face being distorted or their body being distorted, and you know, when you're hurt and somebody hurt you, man, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
And it changes how you feel about the opposite sex. It really does.
And
it does something to your psyche too.
And it changes how you feel about yourself.
It does.
And then,
make it feel like this is all that I'm worth.
This is all I
and this is all I should. This is what
I deserve.
Yeah. Or blame yourself for the reason why the relationship didn't go like it was, and when it wasn't even your fault.
That's right.
So I want to encourage you, women out there, stop blaming yourself for everything that goes wrong in your relationship, because it ain't always you.
And
now I will say this. Now there are some of us women that have taken it to the next level. All right, and not in a good way, but in a bad way,
Right.
because it's unfortunate that it happens like that. Some of us are very bitter. Some of us are very vindictive too, but that's not how God wants us to be. He wants us to have a heart like Jesus, and the only way that you're going to get a heart like Jesus, baby, let me tell you, there's going to be some sacrifices that you're going to have to make.
Yeah.
There's going to be some prayer time that you have to have with God to allow Him to change this heart of ours, because this heart is what we put into it. So if you put in goodness, it's going to bleed goodness. You understand what I'm saying? If you put in bitterness, it's going to act bitter. So you understand this heart operates every part and every function of your body. So if you got any ill will here, it's going to affect your mind. It's going to affect every organ of your body, and you're going to want to do everything possible to get back. And we cannot be that way when God did not create us to be that way. The Word of God says, "Create in me a clean heart and renew the right spirit on the inside of us."
Yeah, and this whole thing, this generational train y'all be on, because Mama did it, Big Mama did it, and Big Mama's mama did it, lived like this, because back then in those times, men were more aggressive,
Yeah, they were.
women were so more submissive. And I ain't talking about submissive, as the Bible says, they were just puppets. You know what I'm saying? My mama, she went through it. I guess that, no, you don't. Break the cycle, break the curse. Start a new trend, start a new generation of couples that are going to be set apart and that you're going to be great examples of that. So the last thing we're going to talk about in communication are the 3 H's. Okay? The 3 H's when you're communicating, okay? All this just goes back to what we said in the beginning about why do we marry, okay? These are things that will help you, help us to be able to deal with things. So the 3 H's are, what is it, baby?
Helped, heard, and hugged.
Helped, heard, or hugged. So in communication, if many times I just need reassurance.
Yeah.
You just need to, you go through something, you don't want to say nothing, you just want to be hugged. You want to be held, and that hug, depending on the force of it, could just take away so much.
You don't realize how much it will help.
Oh my God. You just lay everything in that hug. And then there are times that we want to be helped. I need advice. Honey, I want to talk to you about something. I'm going through this, that, and the other. And I don't want to be analyzed, but I'm just asking your opinion. I want you to, what would you do? So there are certain times that we need to be helped, okay? And then, this is the most crucial H, is we want to be heard.
Yes.
We want to be heard. And that's where the art of listening really comes into play, okay? You just hear, and even if they're venting, with their voices elevated, and you already know you have nothing to do with what there was. You gotta just be patient and listen. And sometimes you may want to say, okay, once they're finished, you're going. Some people say, "Are you done?" Don't say it like that.
Please don't do that.
Just wait for a space or an opening, and just just say, "Well, I think you ought to." No. You ought to say, "Okay, what can I do? Okay, I'm listening. How can I help you? with this situation, or if it's something that you're telling your spouse or whatever that you're having a problem with, okay, is to listen carefully to what they're saying.
It's important.
Why they're saying it,
Uh-huh.
how they're saying it,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and then respond accordingly. Because if the delivery is in the spirit, you give it back in the spirit in which it was given.
Right, because I know a lot of times, us women sometimes we are very sensitive, especially when matters of the heart, and that's important, you guys. And the men have to understand that sometimes we just need a shoulder that we can cry on, and someone that is willing to listen to what we're saying, and to help us to kind of think about what's going on and what's the best plan of action. And basically, when we come to you as a spouse, we expect certain things, and those certain things that we expect is to be heard. You know, it's nothing like trying pouring out your heart to someone, and then they say, "Is that all you got? Are you finished yet?" You ain't even heard me.
Right.
So it's like it's
Right.
and instantly we step back and say, you know what? I give up. I give in because it's nothing else for me to say.
Right.
Because every time I come to you and try to tell you my heart, and this is all that I get,
Just shut down.
you know, and it's just not fair. It's not fair to your spouse that you would treat them as such. So we got to do it different. We got to be better as couples, as married couples, those are engaged couples or dating, whatever the case is. And I pray that you guys really got something out of this on this evening, because I'm telling you all, to love somebody just for their position, it's not going to work. Just loving somebody,
Or just wanting
Yeah.
somebody. There's no love involved.
oh God,
You just want them somebody because of what you can get from them.
yeah,
And you come into the relationship bringing nothing,
bringing them
and then you take nothing, and then you take everything out, but you
exactly
bring nothing to the table.
right, and don't let them have a baby. Oh my God, that'll be something even more. I'm just saying, y'all, don't treat each other like that. God is a God of love, and He expects for us to treat each other with that same respect of love. So let's respect each other. Let's love each other for real. And if it's somebody that you're dating and you don't want to go to the next level with them, at least be honest with them
And let them
and tell
know.
them the
Don't
truth.
string
Yeah.
people along.
Don't do
Yeah,
that, because guess
yeah.
what? They got a life just like you.
Mhm.
You know, so sometimes in some cases you just have to let them go,
Yeah.
and then pursue someone else.
Right.
Whatever the case is.
Right. Well, listen, we have really enjoyed ourselves tonight. Don't forget, intention versus impact. Okay? Watch how you talk to each other. Don't remember the 3 H's?
Yeah.
Help, hug, or heard. Okay? But listen, you just tune in every Tuesday here at 7 p.m. here at the SKS TV podcast studios here in the beautiful city of Virginia Beach, 5245 Cleveland Street, Suite 209. If you would like to have a podcast, just check us out at SKS TV Podcast Studios. I'm telling you, it's going to change your life. We have space for you. We've got studios available for you, and it's going to be great. Don't forget, Beyond the Vows, SKSTV@gmail.com. Send us a message, send us a comment, let us know how you're enjoying the show. And we really want to hear from you. And again, don't forget the Super Patch Spirits Tour, the MW Brown. superpatch.com. mwbrown.superpatch.com. Okay, and again, our main sponsor is the deafchildhope.org. deafchildhope.org. Go on the website today and see one of those great children who need your help. Okay?
Yes.
And again, I thank my honey for always being my co-pilot. Okay, because I do most of the driving. And listen, and you keep us in your prayers. We've we've had some deaths in our family, and we're getting ready to bury our daughter-in-law this weekend, and our children's grandfather was buried last weekend. So it's be kind to one another, because you never know when you're going to see them again. All right. With that said, good night. Thank you so much for being here. And this is WC and Maria Brown, and we are Beyond the Vows.